The faces of a conflict which was one of the most costly in human history. A scale of loss which reached into every corner of the UK and to Commonwealth countries around the world. Acts of formal remembrance, like the daily ceremony at the Menin Gate in Belgium, are often intensely personal. In outlining their plans for next year, the government say they want to draw in families eager to trace their own links to individual soldiers.
As the years pass, our recollections and understanding of those events fade, and this centenary gives us all an opportunity to connect not only with our nation's history, but in many cases our own family's story as well.
The official start to the commemorations will be on August the 4th next year, 100 years to the day since Britain entered the war. At Glasgow Cathedral, a congregation will remember the sacrifice of British and Commonwealth soldiers. Later that day, Britain and Germany will hold a service of reconciliation among the graves of those who died during the early clashes near Mons in Belgium. And in the evening at Westminster Abbey and in communities around the UK, candles will be extinguished at 11 p.m, the moment war was declared. With commemorations planned across mainland Europe, there will inevitably be a formality to many of the events, particularly in August next year. But the government is stressing that they regard it as equally important that the lessons of history should be passed on to today's generation.
Given that the First World War was for Britain the bloodiest conflict, and arguably the most decisive that we have ever been involved in, I think the First World War is as relevant now as it ever has been.
The government acknowledged that education will play a key role. The challenge is to engage the public with such a distant period of history.
It was a very young generation that died, you know. They should remember them.
Yeah, it's something to be remembered, but it's something that I think for us seems to be fading.
It was the same, I suppose, for both sides, wasn't it, really? You know, it was just as terrible for the Germans. But I think we should remember.
The voices of the men who fought are silent, but in Britain and in Europe there is still a desire to increase our understanding of the terrible and momentous events of the past, which did so much to shape our present. Robert Hall, BBC News.